Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us to do this podcast today. So I want to introduce David, the founder and CEO of Photobase to our community. So David, welcome. Thank you so much for spending time to do this pod with us. So do you want to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience today?
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. Excited to do the podcast. Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Photobase. We're a startup trying to help build useful products for people. Specifically, we want to tackle this running out of storage problem that's becoming more pervasive. Um, so the quick pitch of the idea is, you know, what do you do when you run out of storage on your phone? Most people either buy more storage via iCloud or Google Photos, or
Mhm.
they have to go through this tedious process of deleting photos, which no one really likes. And so, what we're trying to do is make that tedious process more enjoyable, more useful, easier to do with the advances of AI. And that's what we call Photobase Cleaner. So, hopefully, we'll talk about that today. Um, Before this startup, I've been in the tech industry for a long time. Worked at large companies like Google and smaller startups in the past. Founded other startups and also got acquired into Lyft at some point in time as well. Can talk about that experience too.
Yeah,
So
I think David, you are being very humble. So also at the same time, David has graduated from MIT, has very serious background in the tech industry. So yeah, David, so how long have you been building for the base?
building Photobase depends when you call the pivot
Uh-huh.
officially. I would say let I would put it at roughly a year of
Mhm.
building Photobase.
So for this 1 year, what does your funding journey look like?
The founder journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so founder journey, you learn a lot when you're doing a startup.
Yeah.
I would say maybe the biggest learning is Photobase didn't start off as a cleaner app.
Hmm.
What we started with was the notion of, hey, we still have the storage problem that I mentioned earlier, but
Hmm.
the thinking was we could use uh, right now, you're kind of locked into a platform, whether it's iCloud or Google Photos. And the initial idea was to see if we could disrupt that lock-in by providing cheaper alternatives. For example,
Hmm.
using different file storage protocols, decentralized storage protocols, or even potentially other cloud services like AWS.
Yeah.
The long
Yeah.
story short of that is and that was more complex to build. So the
Hmm.
idea of you know moving photos from your mobile phone or mobile device to another device, whether it's your laptop or another tablet, and then backing it up to the cloud and one of these third-party providers I mentioned. Very complicated to build, could be really cool. Uh, but ultimately, when I was talking to customers and discovering their pain points, even if we could save them 70%, which was what we
Hmm.
could save them, leveraging this platform to the fullest, going from paying $10 a month to you know $3 a month was still not
Hmm.
significant for the end user. And so that was
Yeah.
probably the biggest learning was, hey, this is, even though people are willing to pay for storage, the idea of moving all your data and specifically very sensitive personal memories to a an unknown startup or another service is just very risky, and saving a few bucks a month is not going to make the difference for you to do that. And
Yeah.
so that's when we shifted to focusing more on the curation experience.
Yeah, you mentioned about the status quo of people are paying a lot to iPhone to Apple pretty much. So
Yeah.
I kind of wonder like what is the pricing model for Photobase, because I'm also a user of Photobase by myself, and I noticed that there's a free version and also there's a paid version. So like what does Photobase support right now to the broader users these days?
Yeah, well, thanks for being a user.
Yeah,
Always nice to meet users. So yeah,
yeah,
so right
power
now,
user right now for
Power,
me.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we have a freemium based model, and the idea is, we want to provide all of the functionality that that the product has that we think is differentiated in the marketplace right now for free. I'll let
Hmm.
users use it. Um, and if they want to kind of make use of the full time saving capabilities of the product, they could then upgrade to premium. Now, the main differences right now are freemium models, you're going to see ads. Um, and you're going to be limited on being able to sort by some of our more advanced filters. We call them pro filters, and these leverage a lot of the AI locally to um, assess quality of an image. So as a free user, you will see the low quality or high quality tags on an image, and
Yeah.
that's meant to guide you to say, okay, Photobase thinks this photo is good, so maybe I shouldn't delete it. But if you wanted to search through all your photos and get
Hmm.
all of the low quality images, so you could delete all of those right away,
Yeah.
you would need to upgrade to the pro version. And then the pro version would also remove all the ads. So you would have an ad free experience and you'd get full access to all of the pro filters.
Yeah, I'm literally, I can show my photo base, some of the features it supports, like, it will find the duplication of my photos and, identify similar images for me, to free up my memory by deleting some of the similar images. Also, it will be able to see, what a similar video so I can free up, storage further. And this is what David mentioned just now about the low quality images. So, this is for the pro. So, David, like, would you mind to give us a quick, walkthrough about the photo base, like a quick demo, like, to show to the
Sure.
audience, like what photo base can do in different, version, like, free and also the premium
Sure.
slash pro. Yeah.
Yeah, happy to do that. And I think you've already given a quick preview. What I'm going to do, I'll show a demo video of it just for sake of time, and I'll pause it and talk through the features as we go.
Yeah.
And then let me just share that here. Let's see if you can see it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can see it.
cool. So I turned off the volume, so hopefully that doesn't do anything. So yeah, the first biggest differentiator, and I'll pause the demo here, is Photobase Cleaner will basically digest and ingest your entire photo library, all the photos that you share with the app. It will start what we call AI processing, and it'll run the photos through a variety of different AI models to better categorize and assess the quality of the photos. Everything from the similarities that we talked about to the aesthetics. And when it finishes running that, it can then provide you with those widgets that you were showing so that it's easier for the user to, sorry, so it's easier for the user um, to go through their photos. So the first and most obvious ones are duplicates and similar photos. Uh, this is the duplicates view. Very straightforward. These are exactly the same images or videos that you have on your phone. Oftentimes, people get these when they are sending images on WhatsApp and also on iMessage, and it's the exact same image. And so these are very easy. You don't have to think through it too much. The next one is similar photos, where you may have a lot of photos that were taken around the same time, um, and and then but they're not exactly the same. So it might be the same shot, but someone's smiling, someone's closing their eyes, and so you want to pick the best one, and that's where the similar feature comes in, so you can better distinguish what's the best photo. It will also uh, prioritize which photos to keep based on that quality assessment I talked about earlier. So then you can also use these filters. And just to give you a sense of the filters, there's the regular filters that you can sort your library by time, by size, by file type. Like if you want to just look through your videos, for example. And then that helps you identify um, or more easily curate when you're like, I just need to get rid of a couple big videos, not go through this whole process right now. You can do that easily. And if you notice here, there's a thumbs up. That is the high quality tag that the app has designated to that photo. So that's saying, oh, this is a good photo. I don't, you don't want to delete that necessarily unless you're sure you have a copy or you're okay deleting it. You didn't like it. That's one of those pro features that shows up on the free version. But if you want to actually filter by the quality, you would need to upgrade to pro. And then let's just keep going through the demo. There's a lot of different other ways to manage your uh, library, but right now, this is walking through some of the other filters like blurry or low quality that we talked about. And I think one of the other important things that, yeah, that's the end of this demo video. But one of the other things that is very cool, I think, as well, is if you are, sorry, let me just go back here. If you
Mhm.
are actively managing and trying to curate your photos, you might make mistakes. So there's a whole undo and trash functionality, such that, you know, you think you want to delete all these photos. There's some breathing room. You don't have to automatically delete them all forever. You can confirm that. If you accidentally delete some photos, you can restore them within the app. And then the other piece is if you've reviewed a lot of photos, let's say your library is very large, like 20,000 photos, you're probably not going to review all of them in one day. But you can start marking photos as, okay, I've reviewed this photo. I don't want to have to re-review it. And so the default will just show you photos that you have not reviewed yet. So you're not redoing work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So for the audience, if you are interested in watching or exploring more about the demo video, we will list the link in the comment area. So David, another question for you. So with
Sure.
your MIT, with your Google, with your Lyft, all those like technical, background that you have, from the website, you clearly have a deep technical chops. So you made according to the, Photobase website, you made a huge bet on privacy.
Mhm.
So like, all those photos are processed, like, locally, no cloud uploads. Is it correct?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That's one of the key differentiators. Yes, all the AI processing, I think the thing that stands out about Photobase is there's advanced AI models running at the edge, which means that they're running locally on the device itself. Uh,
Hmm.
for the exact reasons you mentioned, these are your private photo collection, very personal to a lot of people, and you don't want necessarily to share those photos with a random third party. Uh,
Hmm.
there are even some very well-known cloud providers like Google. Right now, if you use Google Photos, it's a great product, but part of the terms of service there is that Google has access to all of your photos, and some people feel very uncomfortable with that and want to make sure that they keep their photos private. Apple has also done some stuff around the privacy things that have worried some folks more recently, but we believe that keeping it local, private to the end user is the most important thing we can offer right now to have that peace of mind.
Yeah, makes sense. The apparently, the storage almost full warning is something that everyone hates. Do you have a sense that usually I'm just talking about, just giving us our average number. So what percentage of storage do, Photo-based users typically reclaim
Yeah,
by
it's a
using
good.
Photo-base?
So it's a
Uh-huh.
great question. I wish I could give you accurate, specific numbers.
Hmm.
One of the challenges with keeping the app so private is that a lot of our
You don't
analytics
have the number.
are
Yeah.
are not exact and they're more directional,
Hmm.
I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So, for example, the app doesn't even store your email address. So, there's no way to contact the user unless the user wants to contact Photobase, the company. So, that's just
Yeah.
as an aside. But from what I can see from people I've talked to who have used the app, a lot of people jump right ahead they do all the duplicates right away and they start going through their similar photos. And so,
Yeah.
I think that's roughly based on my heuristics of what I've seen, that's roughly 10% of the user's library, and that's just
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah.
I think the issue is not like, hey, you're going to clear all your photos in one go. It's for better or worse, a management task that you have to do every so often. And so I think
Hmm.
helping the user clean up 2% of their library once a month is probably sufficient, and it's probably what most people are using at this time. But
Yeah.
I've also heard, other users just delete like half their photos. And
Yeah.
so it really depends on the user too. Some people know, for example, I that store all their TikTok videos in a TikTok folder, and they know that's quote unquote junk. Like they don't need to keep that in their storage forever, so they can just
Yep.
delete all their TikTok photos, and that might be 80% of their storage on their phone,
Yep.
right? As
Yep.
as an extreme example. So everyone's a little different, but I think most people gravitate towards the duplicate similars, and then do a little bit more constant management.
Yep.
Constant being every month or so.
Sure. Yeah, I can, use my own, data as an example to give the audience a better understanding what Photobase can do for you. So I have, in my iPhone, I have around 7,000, photos, including, photos and videos. So in total, that is around like 50 gigabytes. So my duplications has around like, 760 like 760 megabytes of duplicated photos. For similar images that I have, it has around like 4 gigabytes. Similar videos that have 20 gigabytes. Low quality images I can free up, or I can just delete. It has around like 5 gigabytes. So by using Photobase, I can pretty much free up around like 25 gigabytes from my photos alone. So this is what Photobase can do for me in the first week of even like on the first day of using the app. All of a sudden, I have around 50 gigabytes. I can free up 25 gigabytes, and not to mention about like David, you mentioned every weekend you can just free up some space from doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can get just pretty much this is data of myself, using Photobase.
Yeah. No,
So
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
yeah,
And I would say also, there's also a
uh-huh,
stats page on the user settings where you could see like
yeah,
the stats of your whole library, and that kind of helps too to see how many you've
hmm,
deleted and how
yeah,
many are identified as that as low
yeah,
quality or whatnot.
yeah,
Um, and then one other helpful feature that I should mention is for this management, like not just within your first week.
hmm,
Um, every time you take photos, uh, you can set the interval, but whenever the app detects new photos have been added to the library,
hmm,
it can prompt you to review them if you want. And
yeah,
so I find that to be the most helpful feature
hmm,
because I'll take photos one weekend. Let's say my family and I go on a trip. We take 100 photos, have a fun time. Never, I have a really bad habit of not looking at my photos after I take them. This
yeah.
actually prompts me to say, "Hey, you took 100 photos in the last week. Uh, Maybe you should review them, and I can get rid of all the ones that are duplicates or similar right away." And so that I find is a very useful feature as well for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Is it a pro feature or is it a free feature?
That's a free feature. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
That's
yeah,
it's quite a steal. Yeah.
yeah. The major distinction of the Pro again is like the quality filter, and so
Hmm,
to be able to filter to only low quality or only high quality, um,
hmm,
that's what distinguishes between Pro and free. So the Pro filters.
yeah. Wow. Guys, if you are not using Photobase, you are missing out. It's a free feature that you can, I don't know, David, do you want this feature to be say free for a limited amount of time, or you feel like, it can be free forever? But I'm pretty sure, with time, like, you will add more features, over time. So David, you mentioned that you have been working on Photobase, like the photo cleaner, for a year, if we don't, count, the pivot. So what did your initial go-to-market look like? And, what is the current traction for Photobase right now? If you can share with the audience.
Yeah, yeah. So let me update those numbers to make sure they're accurate for my
Yeah.
sake. So
Hmm,
the app launched in September officially in the App Store. So
hmm,
it's about 3 or 4 months in the App Store, let's call it, maybe
hmm,
5.
hmm,
And I worked on after the pivot, worked on that for let's say 3 months um, to build the app to get it ready for production. Um, so back to the question of go to market, I think this is a challenge for all startups
yeah.
figuring out this strategy, and specifically for consumer applications. It's it's hard to get your name out there. So especially in the App Store where you're fighting against top apps in the App Store these days, it's a very crowded market with like ChatGPT, which is the top app right now most of the time.
Hmm.
So how do you like stand out? Uh, Basically, the two strategies we've employed so far are first and foremost word of mouth. Talking to people in my network,
Hmm.
friends. The nice thing about Photobase Cleaner, it's a pretty universal problem. Most people have this running into storage limitations on their phones. And so it's easy to talk about the product. People understand the problem. People have already dealt with it and have some idea of how they're currently solving it. So it's easy to just say, hey, try this app. It will help you. So that's first and
Yeah.
foremost. But that's slow. That's slower. It takes a while for it
Mm.
to grow. And we have some referral programs within the app where if you share it with a friend, you get a free week of pro stuff like that. And so that there's a little bit of word of mouth there. And then the second one is really learning about advertising and marketing that app, creating campaigns and seeing what campaigns are most effective. And
Yeah.
this is something, before working on Photobase Cleaner, I was not an expert in. I'm still not an expert, but learned a lot along the way and seeing what ads really uh, lead themselves towards higher conversion rates and what is a cost-effective strategy of growing. And so we've leaned into Google Ads right now has been very useful for us. I've tried Reddit ads, TikTok ads,
Hmm.
uh, and a few others, but so far found some balance that's reasonable on the Google ad side, which is using essentially Google AdWords and optimizing campaigns there.
Yeah. Wow. It seems like, you are doing a lot of things in parallel, it's just like you said, figuring out, what is the most effective, growth channel has
Yeah,
always been a challenge, you know. Uh, yeah.
totally. And this is part of the startup journey that's hard. It's like um, they say the first time founders, the
Hmm.
biggest issue is
The
figuring out
product.
the product. And the second time
It's
founders
about distribution, right?
is distribution. So I'm in that
Yeah.
phase. And then the third
Yeah.
phase, which is also equivalent, is like the margin.
Yeah.
It's understanding margin.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. I feel like I'm still at the phase two, like you. So yeah, we're gonna work on that. So also, David, I did some research, to understand a little bit more about the competitive landscape of Photobase. I noticed there are some other photo cleaning apps out there, but to be honest, from the user experience perspective, some of them they are just adopting a Tinder style, like swipe
Yeah.
left and swipe right. I don't think that's efficient at all. Apart from the UX, because Photobase just supports like just one click, and all of a sudden it gives you all the optimization that you need. What makes Photobase different? So, what is your unfair advantage? Apparently, privacy is one because assume you have the experience of building a large scale privacy system, or like you optimize the storage, or just to make sure the pretty much just the entire process can be as efficient as possible. But apart from the privacy, what are the other advantages that you think Photobase has, apart from the others?
Yeah. So definitely privacy, number one. Again, we don't even know what your email is, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
number two is and I think this one is really important too, is the using AI locally on the phone. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of, as you mentioned, the UI. There's a lot of these Tinder like swipe left to keep or delete, but that's going through the photos one by one. And so one of the differentiators is the UX of being able to select many photos at once. So
Hmm.
you can select a whole album in your iPhone, like 1,000 photos at once to delete right away. You can't really do that with those Tinder swipe apps that are trying to do that. Uh, but I think the biggest differentiator is the AI component, where AI, machine learning model on your phone running locally that is actually providing, state of the art models to analyze your images, uh, to be able to detect blurriness, to be able to detect quality, and over time, the hope is those models get better and better. You can do
Hmm.
that processing locally on the phone,
Hmm.
such that uh, it gives you the right suggestions that you can review and say, yes, this is right. I trust Photobase to help me curate my photos. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest one. Uh,
Yeah.
and and uh, and then the last one, this is more maybe more on the technical side, is the performance of the app. I think it's also differentiating
Hmm.
because once you start dealing with very large photo libraries, there is a performance hit to making sure that stays in balance with the phone. For users with very large libraries, this becomes very important. And that's something that we've worked really hard to get it to a place where the app is performant at very large numbers of photos in a library so far.
Hmm. So apparently, Photobase itself, like the base of photos. So I kind of wonder, so what is the long-term goal for Photobase for you? So for now, it helps, saving storage on the phone. But what else that you think, because, I noticed that you have also built a suite of photo tools
Mhm.
alongside, Photobase. Apparently, the Photobase is the main product, but we have Planer, Album Maker, Transfer Converter. So what do you want to do in the future, like with Photobase?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's a lot of possibilities, and I think a lot of stuff on the website is, being in startup mode while you're
Hmm.
pivoting, you're trying a lot of different ideas. One of
Hmm.
the things that the reason why there are all those tools that I are on the website is
Hmm.
because they were common. They're either more experimental or they're common frustrations that trying to productionize around. So converting images locally is kind of annoying. And if you work
Hmm.
with a lot of different photo formats, you realize, hey, this could be done much more easily. And so
Hmm.
that's where the converter one came in. And then Album Maker is more future forward looking, and that is where I think Photobase could end up. So if I take a step back and explain Photobase Cleaner again, the
Hmm.
idea is helping you curate your photos. Right now, the curation aspect is all about deletion. Like, how do
Hmm.
I save space? How do I take the content I already have and figure out what is worth keeping and what is worth deleting, right?
Hmm.
I think the long term goal is if we can do that curation really well and figure out, okay, we know exactly which photos are bad,
Hmm.
that most likely means here's the hypothesis that we can do the opposite. We can figure out, okay,
Yeah.
which photos are really good, which are the photos that you
Yeah.
really like,
Hmm.
and from there you could imagine a curation extension or feature that allows the user to create maybe the best albums of the week,
Hmm.
maybe the best albums on a particular uh, uh, what's it called, focus or subject matter, like I don't know,
Hmm.
best photos of food that you've taken in the last year.
Right.
So kind of enhance, like being more creation oriented and
Mm.
creating, imagine, and that's where Album Maker kind of came in, and that's still very much in test mode. But the idea of, okay, I have this content of photos,
Yeah.
can I now use what I've learned from Photobase Cleaner to generate new albums for the user that they're going to
Uh-huh.
like and they're going to want to look at, and they're going to want to interact with. And so
Yeah.
that's, I think, the long term view for Photobase is, can we be your photo assistant, your photo, like photography assistant that really can
Yeah.
help you pick the best photos, help you categorize albums, help you print photos. There's a lot of print photo apps out there, but can we do all of
Mm.
that in a much more seamless way that's a privacy preserving and provides the same value and same time saving opportunities?
Yeah, I can actually, see so many things, you can do with it. Like, for example, I just, randomly have two thoughts around this. First of all is, curation for social media. I don't know how many, of the audience or even David, if you can relate or not. I feel like just imagine today, I want to post something on social media that I just say, I noticed there's a trend. It's quite a trendy topic recently. It's like, post your photos of yourself in 2016. right? So just imagine if someone type in such a word, in natural language in Photobase, and all suddenly it pops out, all the photos that you took in 2016, and just curate, these are the photos that worth posting, for example. Even like it can be a tag, right? So I always encounter a problem if I want to show a photo to someone and they say, oh, remember, I remember that there was a period of time I saw this, right? I was always struggling. First of all, I cannot recall the timestamp. I cannot recall when I took that picture.
Hmm.
Also, at the same time, even I remember the time. It was just like time consuming for me to find that one. I need to zoom in and zoom out. It's again and again trying to find those pictures. If there's a way that I can just type in a natural language, like you mentioned about AI, right? So if I can just type in a natural language and say, I'm looking for a photo like XYZ, and just it will just show me. And I think that can be a killer feature, but just random sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, since you mentioned about those features on your roadmap. So any benefits for users being early, like if they are early users or photo base, and what is the like benefits potentially for them?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting in early of a early product, so you have the benefit of a using new technology, which is always fun,
Hmm.
but also helping shape the product for the future, right? So being
Hmm.
able to, for any user that is vocal and provides really valuable feedback, we're constantly looking at the feedback that we get from users and trying to apply that to figure out, hey, what's going to help users solve their problems, right? This is a
Hmm.
very focused use case, but if we get enough feedback, we can add those extra features that people will find very useful. Whether
Yeah.
it's search, I've heard that one a lot, but that's a great feature request. That one's a little
Yeah.
harder. But also, maybe there's a big contingent to your point of posting on social media, and they need helper tools or other ways to do that by providing that feedback as an early user that is active on the product. You can help shape the product, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah. So David, apparently you are quite a successful founder right now. So for founders who are thinking about leaving big tech, because you used to have a big tech background, and if they want to leave big tech world and to build their own product, what advice would you give them based on your journey? Like what to do, what to avoid doing?
Yeah, a lot of startup advice out there. Uh, I
Uh-huh.
hi- I highly let's see, how do I say this? So I'd say okay, the first and foremost is understand why you want to do the startup
Hmm.
because as even if big tech gets a bad rap, it's not a bad quality of life, right? And so you really should be very sure about the reasons why you're doing the startup. And if it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, this sounds cool and I want to be an influencer or whatever, maybe not the right path. So just be very honest with yourself about why you're doing this and what you want to get out of it, because 9 times out of 10, these startups will fail. Uh, and so that's just take a quick, honest assessment of yourself and say, do I want to do this or not? The second part of that question is the thing that you're going to do is probably going to last 10 years if it's successful. Right. So make sure that whatever you're working on is something you see yourself being able to work on in the future for 10 more years, which is hard. I think 20 years ago, it was like 5 years, maybe 7 years. And now those
Yeah.
timelines have just continued to expand. So make sure
Yeah.
that something that's exciting to you, that you're passionate about, but also that you could foresee yourself working on it for a very long time. That's just on motivation. I would say on um, on thinking about what to build, and let's say, hey, you're sure you want to do this, but maybe you don't know what to work on. There's a lot of great essays out there and great advice around thinking about new ideas. Obviously, YC has, or Y Combinator, for those who don't know, great resource. Highly recommend reading all the material there. Um, but it starts with building something that is a pain point for a lot of people and something that ideally you have expertise in or have experience dealing with, because if you can solve your own problem really well, chances are you're going to solve it for other people who also are experiencing that same problem. And so try and focus on things that you know or that you're familiar with that you can apply your insight to build something for. And let's see, what else is there? Yeah, I think maybe we started on this earlier when we talked about product market fit. So obviously that's like a core concept that people should really familiarize themselves with and define what that means for your product. And once you have that, don't forget about distribution and the margin. So because as we mentioned earlier, even if you have the best product, if no one knows about it,
Hmm.
who's going to download the product? There are like 300 other cleaner apps in the App Store. How does Photobase Cleaner differentiate? Still figuring that out, but that's a big question mark, right? Like obviously, if you're the top app in the App Store,
Yep.
you're going to you're going to do okay, but how do you
Hmm.
get up there? And that's a big challenge.
Hmm.
Um, and then I think there's okay, this is my sage advice, which maybe sounds trite, um, but or maybe this is more of a learning and something that's worth thinking about, which is the how do I phrase this the right way? Doing a startup is hard, so you might as well do something hard.
Hmm.
And the reason is because let's say you want to build an app, uh, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time to figure out how to build it, how to productionize it, how to market it, how to do all this stuff. And if at the end of the day it only does like something really small for the end user that they don't really care about, you will have put almost the same amount of work into that as if you were to build something really large, like maybe game changing. That's obviously a lot riskier to do, but the amount of effort I think is almost the same for the founder at least. And
Yeah.
so take big swings, as they say. Don't be afraid to take a big swing
Mhm.
because another way to look at that is if you look at the simplest products out there that are really successful, they're super complicated in the back end. So the most canonical example is Google search, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, all I do is write into a text box and I get all these answers. To be able to power Google search is very complex and all the work that went into that to make it so easy for the end user, it seems very simple, but it's actually very difficult. Similarly, Lyft. I want a car to pick me up. I just press a
Hmm.
button. That seems really easy. Actually,
Hmm.
it's very complex on the back end. And so
Yep.
there's all of these really powerful products and, generational products that try to make things very simple, but it's super
Yep.
complex on the back end. And that's where I think the arbitrage may lie is like figuring out what are those things you can make really simple that are actually really hard to figure
Yep.
out and do well.
Yeah, this is how you build Photobase as well, right? So one click, on the interface, and later on, it's very complex backend, to optimize and then detect, the duplication for users, I assume.
Yes,
This is your
yeah,
design philosophy, right?
yeah. That is the philosophy, and that's what I'm hoping to execute well on. But yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, hey, it shouldn't be hard to delete photos.
Yeah,
Turns out it's a
you've been
hard
doing well.
problem. Apple
Yeah,
hasn't
I'm
done it.
using it. You've been doing well.
Oh,
You've
thank
been
you.
doing well on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, David, apparently we're gonna launch a bounty. So, guys, please participate into this bounty. First of all, David will reward you if you give him a very good answer. The second is, David, apart from this bounty, imagine today is someone from the audience. He wants to get connected with you. He want to give you the feedback or have any, questions about using the photo base. How, where can these people find you and connect with you, and also where they can find a photo base, like for iPhone apparently it's App Store, but any other places, Google
Yeah.
Play or anywhere else for Android, or even like does it have a web version?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no Android version yet. We're trying to iron out the product first on iOS before we go to another platform, just
Hmm.
to focus a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, the best place to find anything about Photobase, go to thephotobase.com. Hopefully, we can link it on the show notes, but that will be have links to download the app. It'll have FAQs about the app. It'll have a contact us field as well, so you can contact the team. You can reach the team at support at thephotobase.com, or you can
Hmm.
email me directly, which is dvd at thephotobase.com. Um, I'm also on some socials, not all. I'm on Twitter or X, and
Hmm.
that's probably the only one I'm on actually. So you could DM me there if you'd like, and we can include the my DM if you want. It's David D8 at that's it at David D8.
Yeah, guys, if you hear about this, feel free to DM David, on Twitter and on our socials, and also email him. We will, have David's social posted in the thread, and later on, just feel free to get connected there if you have any questions or any feedback. So, David, I think that's pretty much it for today. So, any final thoughts, or anything that you want to share with your potential users?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I'm excited about Pond is getting more salient user feedback. So people using the app, giving really, not just a review in the App Store that's maybe just a star rating, but also, hey, what do you like about the app? What could be better? So we're looking at that closely so we can improve the app for you as the user. So I think that would be super helpful, and it's a great chance to talk and interact more directly with some of our, most active users. If they're doing the bounty on Pond, they're going to be using the app pretty thoroughly. So that I'm excited about that.
Sure. Thank you so much, David, for your time to have this podcast with us. And also for the audience, thank you so much for spending the time watching this podcast. Make sure you download Photobase and start using Photobase from today to free up some of the storage on your phone. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Right, thank you.